Hi guys, I'm Shah from Charlie's Angel Tarot from YouTube and Miwi and Buddayadvies on Facebook. Here we have the mythic card from the tarot card from the mythic deck, and this is called Justice. I don't know whether you can see it, but it's called Justice. I am trying to get it very clear and it won't work. Hold on. Well, this is Athena, and I'm going to try to explain it to you what she is. Justice is the goddess of justice, and she's called Athena. And here you've got the word justice, and here you've got the Roman, like like Olympia, the doorway to a house. This could be the house of justice, with the two white pillars that frame her. And then let's just describe her a bit. The card Justice portrays a severe, beautiful young woman, and that is Athena, dressed in a white and silver dress and a silver helmet. So she's got her army gear on. She's ready for fighting. They call that a battle dress. Seated on a silver throne. Well, I think it's wood, but never mind. In her right hand she holds upright the sword of justice, and in her left hand she's holding the scales. You can barely see it here, sorry about that guys. Her pale hair, white robes, she's got blonde hair, I don't know whether you can see it, I've just about, and her white robes echo the purity of echo purity of the two white pillars. Okay, and portico, which is that frames her. So this is called a portico, and this is actually how the goddesses look like. So you can dress up as anything on the 21st of June. By the way, beneath her feet you've got a black and white tiled floor, which represent um, uh, I'll get back to that, what that represents, but that's like the black and white, the yin and the yang. And usually you see pillars black and white in the High Priestess and in some other cards. And she's got an owl perched on her left-hand shoulder. The owl means wisdom, as you all know, and it reflects clarity and vision, because they can see and hunt in the dark and very far away from their prey. And that's when when I see a hawk in a picture, then I say you might want to have another perspective, like a helicopter perspective. And then the scales symbolize capacity to weigh one thing off against the other, to arrive in an impartial judgment. In the myth, Athena was said to have invented the first human injury. So this is weighing, wigging and weighing, and this is also Libra, the scales. The black and white pattern floor suggests that the black and white floor suggests that the mind has capacity to integrate the dark and the light into orderly and correct alignment. Well, here it's not aligned only like that. So that's fascinating. I will tell you a little bit more about the judgment card. And the judgment card obviously stands for justice and balance. Here we meet Athena, the goddess of justice, whom we earlier encountered in the card of lovers. In the myth, her father was Zeus, the king of gods, who had been warned by Uranus that if he had a child by his first wife, Metis, god of wisdom, that's what my cat is called, it would be more powerful than he. To forestall this eventuality, he swallowed Metis before she had given birth to a child. She was carrying. Shortly afterwards, Zeus was tormented by the intolerable headache to occur him. Hephaestus, that's the smith god, slipped open his head with a bronze axe. Doesn't it sound horrific? And from that gap, gaping wound sprung a fully armed Athena, shouting a triumph cry of victory. At the sight, all the immortals were struck with astonishment and filled with awe. The goddess became Zeus' favourite child, and his preference for her was so marked that it aroused the jealousy of other gods. Athena's warlike proclivities were immediately apparent from her birth, but she was different from Ares, the war god, in many ways. The arts of war which Athena cultivated were not based on love or conflict or bloodshed, rather they sprang from high principles and the cool recognition of the necessity of battle to uphold and preserve truth. She was the strategist rather than the brute fighter. She balanced Ares' physical aggression and force with logic, diplomacy, and cleverness. She protected the brave and valorous and became the guardian of many heroes. But the protection she offered to Perseus, Odysseus, and other famous warriors always consisted of weapons which had to be used with intelligence, foresight, and planning. Athena was a striking exception to Olympian society because of her chastity. She also rendered valuable service to mankind. She taught the art of taming horses and fostered skills and crafts such as weaving and embroidery. Her activities were concerned not only with useful work but with artistic creation as well. Thus she was civilizing goddesses, although a warrior, when it became necessary to protect the peaceful civilization. So now you can see the bit of the Queen of Swords, that she was an icy queen because she was celibate, or what did they call it? Um, she acquired not acquired, but she stood for chastity, so that means celibacy, and that's how she perfected other things. She was pure, and she was stronger than her brother. I think her brother was Ares, because he was the god of war. So she was much clever because she didn't use her strength because she's a woman. She used her intelligence. So here again, you can say, don't uh, don't go fighting with knives and your hands, but use your brains. Like sometimes it's even more um, indicative or vindicative if you ignore people in a quarrel. So, and you can only better open your mouth when you know the truth. So the truth, that's the sword, will come out. So you must be in balance to do this, and highly intelligent, and you've got the wisdom, and you can see another perspective, like the owl. And I think it's so amazing how a card can be so intertwined. But here you've got the beautiful history again, and there you go. And the card goes so deep. I will carry on a little bit longer, and I'll try to explain that as well. On an inner level, Athena, goddess of justice, is an image of the unique human faculty of reflective judgment and rational thought. Well, what did I tell you? That is the owl representing that, because he has a very good sight and wisdom. So that is the owl that's representing what she has. Okay, so she can reflect very well between the good and the bad. To the Greeks, this faculty was divine because of different differentiated man from the beast, because man are supposed to be more intelligent than the beast. Well, I don't agree there totally, because we are destroying our own society. And yeah, been like that since centuries, if you ask me. Thus they envisaged Athena born from the head of the great Zeus. Well, because that's why the Greeks awed her, because she was born from Zeus's brain, because he was hit by a bronze axe, and that she jumped out of that in full armor and dress, sword, etc., etc. So you can see how these stories get twisted. It's just like Chinese whispers. But I just love the stories. Thus envisaged Athena born from the head of Zeus, uncontaminated by the corporal mother, who might link her with a physical and an instinctual world which we share with animals. Athena's judgments are not based on personal feeling, but upon impartial objective assessment of all the factors contained in a situation, and on ethical principles which stand as firm guidelines for choice. Athena's chastity may be taken as a symbol of the intactness and the purity of this reflective faculty, which is not influenced by personal desire. Her teachings of the civilization sating arts are also reflected the capacity of the mind to hold untamed nature in check and transform it through clarity and objective planning. So there again, it's all got to do with the mind. So I would say this is also an air sign, and I believe it will be Libra. I don't know. I'll have to check it up before I end the video. I don't know every card, but I think it is Libra. So it is full of mind, communication, because if you've got wisdom, then you can sell ice cubes to Eskimos. She stands for principles. Principles is also one of the rules in the law. You have to stand by the letter of the law. That's the principle, and that's how you and you should be able to judge between bad and good, so you can keep the balance. You should be able to have an other perspective and reflect. And so, in other words, she was pure because she didn't come from a woman, but from the brain of Zeus. So she wasn't influenced by the feminine side, the mother, but she did have a female body, unfortunately for her. Never mind. It all depends how you look at it. I just don't think she's a cold-hearted woman. She went through trauma, if you listen to the story, and she took her position. She stood by her principles. She stood her ground, and she wouldn't let anybody walk all over her again, not even her father. So and he respected her for that. And she might come across as kill and cold, but she isn't. Her principles were more that she used to fight. Her willingness to battle was more for principles than for passions, which spring from the mind and the capacity. So I don't think any man could match her mind. Well, here it also says, I have to read a little bit from time to time, because I can't do it all at once. The card of justice is the first of the 4 cards in the major arcana, which were traditionally called the 4 moral lessons. These cards, justice, temperance, strength, and the hermit, are all concerned with development of those individual faculties necessary for us to function effectively in life. They all contribute to what psychology calls the formation of the ego, which means the sense of I that each of us must have in order to experience a sense of worth and value in life, and so cope with life and life's challenges from a stable and truly individual base. So um, the four morals of life were justice, temperance, strength, and the hermit. And that would also keep us in balance. So justice is principles and mind and vision. Temperance is balance. Strength is physical strength and love that overwins the roar of the lion. And the hermit, and that means that you have to retreat from time to time to evaluate and throw away what is not necessary and learn from your life lessons on your path. That's where the hermit really is more or less the same as the goddess of Athena, because he's also somebody that has a mind, whereas the two other ones are more or less in body and spirit, I think, because you see the temperance with a cup of 2 cups of water. So I think that's more emotion, but it is to format our ego and how we experience life and how we can accept life. It's really psychological. This it's quite heavy in some ways. So a lot of people, I've heard people say I, but and then I've had conversations with people that say, no, it's not I am, because that states the fact who you are, and not just you are. I am. Well, there's a twist of words, and you can debate about it a long, long, long time. Okay. The fool, having passed through the two great challenges of youth, erotic and desire and aggression, now faces the necessity of building his character and developing the faculties which will help him to deal with the great range of life's experiences. So if you look at it from the fool that knew nothing, and he had to learn desire, and he had to learn aggression. Now he's come to the card justice, and justice is the 8th card, so he's come a long, long way. And the 8 also means power, so you can see why it means power, because justice is power, and because she is power, because she uses her mind. Okay. I won't go too much into all the journeys of the life that we've already had, like the Fool, the Magician, and the Lovers, and etc., etc. Justice is not possible until we respect fairness and truth as important ethical principles, rather than a nice behavior which we adopt because we want to be liked by others. Athena raises us above nature and represents our striving towards a perfection conceived by human mind and spirit. So here you are. She's trying to suggest, or that's what the pagans believe, she's trying to make us strive to get to perfection. Well, we'll never be perfect because we're humans. To conceive by the human mind, to be able to conceive thinking-wise, and in the spirit. So bring our spirit and mind into balance of what the principles are, and that we stand above the animals, or the beasts rather. So when this card comes into a reading, this means that we have to try to see things impartially, and we have to see that things are done according to principles, and we need to bring things into balance, and we have to make decisions. But sometimes we have to, we see things too idealistic, and to destruct, we can destruct it, because like the sword, it cuts on both sides, and you should be careful on how you judge something. I'm glad I'm not a jurist or an advocate or a judge, because I wouldn't like to. I think it must be a very, very difficult job, because you have to reflect, and you have to be cool and not idealistic. You have to be impartial, and you have to see both sides of the story. But like, so a judge has to balance, and that's what Athena is actually representing. And if, and the judge can slice, the punishment could be death by the sword, or slicing somebody up, like cutting them down with words, because the sword will cut straight through to the truth. And that's what a judge seeks to do, just like Athena. Well, I hope you've liked this explanation of this story. I certainly do. I've learned something again today, and I will be back in a minute. Sorry, I've got such a dry mouth, I had to stop. Anyway, like I said, the Justice is the 8th card, and the 8th house, so that represents also the 8th house, and the 8th house is, to me, the house of power, the house of legality, the house of finance, and the house of legality. What did I say? Sorry, the house of legality and transformation, and the house of power, and the house of death. So there can be, of course, a new beginning, because when you can see in the card, the power is the sword, legality and is balance and perspective, and also black and white, wrong, right and wrong. So that's, and the death, yes, well, if you get killed by the sword, that's the end, and then there is a new beginning. So I think that's really, really nicely thought out, whoever did that. But remember that 8 is also the house of money. So everybody's got a different opinion, but I find that it's usually the house of power, the house of money and legalities. And I've never heard it mentioned that it's the house of death or transformation. But I can imagine, and I can relate to it, because if somebody judges you, that can give you a transformation to the negative or the positive. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you're new, please join us in the live sessions. I go live once a day, and if I don't go live once a day, then there will be a video. And what will you find in the video? You will find your daily card for each zodiac sign. And later in the day, or a couple of times a week, I will go live, and we call it the tea room, the chat room, and the followers have already adopted it as the cyber tea room. We are one big cyber family, and it's not all about cards, but it's also about support. If somebody's lost somebody, or if somebody's going through a breakup or a tough time, some people are how do you call it? brave enough to come out with it, and they share it, and we do learn. I've learned certainly from the viewers and the followers that you shouldn't do this, or watch out for that, or why don't you try this, and that's how we support each other. So I hope you come into the tea room and experience it for yourself, and you can become a member right there, and click on the membership button and click on the bell, and then you will be notified. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for all my true followers to watch this. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea because it involves numerology, tarot, the origins, the cultures of Greek and Roman mythology, psychology, and sociology. And that is a totally different subject on what each subject is, and it's all debatable. Okay, sweeties, thank you very much for watching, and take care. Love you all as usual.